Hey everybody, I was almost late for the stream because I was playing around with overlays for StreamYard and I haven't got it completely worked out. What I was going to use this overlay for was the Deadite rating scale, which I am going to start using for uh, reviews that I do on here, or when Steve and I go to the movies and we do a Highway to Hell thing. I started out doing the, five skulls out of five, and Steve gave me the idea, I am the Evil Dead chick, of like five deadites out of five, for the best movies. But I got a late start. On making those, and it turned out to be a little more labor intensive than I realized it was going to be. So I can show you guys. I don't, like I said, I don't have it completely like transparent and everything, but this is the one that I created for the five deadites out of five. So I have to create four more. Um, and it, as you can see there, anybody that's familiar with the Evil Dead films will know that that's the face of Ash when he turns into a deadite on Evil Dead 2. So I'm going to hide that right now because um, it's not exactly transparent right now. So it covers up the whole screen. What I want it to do is when I click on one of those for whatever rating that I want to pick, that will pop up uh, just by me clicking on it. So if I give it five deadites out of five, then I will click on that particular one. And it's probably going to take me a little bit to get used to it. I may click on the wrong ratings at different points in times. But I just thought that would be a little added bonus. Some people might not care about seeing what the rating is visually. They may just care what exactly I think of the movie. So for tonight, I'm going to be uh, audibly telling you what the deadite scale or what how many deadites out of five I give each of these movies I'm going to talk about tonight. And then hopefully by the next time I do a review type show, or me and Steve do another Highway to Hell, I will have this instituted so that I can actually uh, flash that up on the screen as I'm saying, four deadites out of five, or five deadites out of five, or you know, at at the worst, one deadite out of five, or whatever. I could do zero deadites, but that's kind of a moot point because you won't be able to put any deadites on there, and that's the whole point, is to see the deadites as a visual. So I have, let's see, how many movies do I have to talk about tonight? I have 13 movies. Lucky or unlucky 13, however you look at that. Some of them are horror. Actually, most of them are horror, but there are some non horror mixed in here as well. And I know that me and Jay have been talking about Christmas movies, both horror and non horror, on Midday with Dana and Jay. We are going to continue that tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, However, I just thought I would do an all out review show tonight because, in addition to talking about movies, we weren't really giving them ratings. We were just talking about them a little bit. So, on this review show for Seductive Poison and Resurgence, I wanted to actually give my personal rating to each one of these films I'm going to talk about. And You may be surprised. You may not be surprised by some of the ratings that I give for each one of these. Hey, Chris. Um, but I'm hoping you guys and gals enjoy this, and that hopefully the next time I do one of these, I will have that Deadites rating scale all ready to flash up here on the screen. I thought I would have a 5 Deadites out of 5, but I neglected in my muddled brain to realize that I was going to have to make that, excuse me, sucker transparent. I'm also using a new online program called Figma. I don't know how many of you guys and gals are familiar with it, how many people care about it. But I was watching videos on how to create your own overlays, and I was watching somebody that I guess works for StreamYard, and they say that they use Figma a lot to make graphics. And they already had a template set up for an overlay like banner. And I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. And so I kind of used their template, changed the colors, and added my own little, Deadite pictures on there. So, like I said, I did, I'll show that for you guys and gals one more time for people that weren't in here to show you kind of what it's going to look like. That is the 5 Deadites out of 5. You can see that it covers up the whole screen. Therefore, it's going to be important that I make that transparent, which I neglected to do while trying to, come up with this overlay. Now, this is what it was based on. It had this little part down here, which I got rid of. But when I get this all fixed up, and it's transparent where it's not, the whole thing's not covering me up, you will be able to see my actual Deadite scale on the screen whenever I click on whichever rating that I'm picking for these. But I don't want to bore y'all too much with that. Most of y'all are familiar that watch my movie Munchies with the haunted food cam overlay as well. So I want to hide that for now and go back to the comments. Now, I know we got 7 people in here. I do want to get started with these reviews. However, I got so engrossed in creating the overlays that I did not run to the restroom before I started this. So I need to take myself out of the stream, but I will be right back. So, Chris, apologies. You're the only one chatting in here right now, but I am going to have to take myself out of the stream temporarily, unless you guys just want to watch the background. And I think you would probably like to see that Christmas background a little bit better. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and hopefully I won't have to leave again unless I get to feeling weak or something like that and gotta grab something to eat. Hey, Blissful. So these are not in any particular order. I just pulled them off my stack of Christmas movies that I had back in the living room to talk about. Um, so you guys and gals that come regular to or regular attendees to my streams have heard me talk about this movie over and over, but this is simply a movie I can't get enough of. I traditionally I watch it around Christmas time, but sometimes I just pull this movie off the shelf just for the heck of it. And that's Bob Clark's Black Christmas. I saw that the Dead Pit Boys did a review earlier today, I believe, or it was put out earlier today. I think it was a live stream, though, where they were actually doing a review of the 2006 Black Christmas, which, I hated the first time I watched it. It kind of grew on me, but it has nothing on the original Black Christmas. And, we won't even speak of that 2019 one. That was just a worthless piece of garbage to me. But 2006 is more watchable. Um, X-Ray, you say Black Christmas and the first remake were banger, but very different tonally. I would agree, X-Ray. The one fault I had with Black Christmas from 2006 was that tried to explain Billy and Agnes too much. I think what Bob Clark did with the original Black Christmas is he kind of kept you in the dark about certain things, about who exactly Billy was. Who was Agnes? Was Agnes real? Was she somebody in this delusional Billy's mind? We don't know. We can only, make guesses. And I think that was more effective, keeping us in the dark about number one, who Billy was, and number two, what his intentions were in the past, and what his intentions are now until he actually starts offing the sorority sisters. X-Ray, you say the Black Christmas remake was a great mean spirited gore fest. Uh, yes, it was. I will agree with that. X-Ray also says, anyone remember the trailer that was made up of scenes not in the movie? Briefly, X-Ray, but it's been so long. Um, so you guys and gals go ahead and keep chatting in the chat. I'm gonna, I don't think I need to give an entire breakdown of this film, but you basically got a college town, this college town of Bedford, and the sorority sisters have their house decorated for Christmas, lights and decorations and all, and a tree and all of that good stuff. And they are preparing for the Christmas holidays. Now, there's one sorority sister, Claire, who is going to go home the next day. Her father's going to come pick her up and she's going to go home for Christmas vacation. We also have another sorority sister, Jess, played by Olivia Hussey, who's pretty much the main girl. She's going to be the one that we follow the most throughout this movie, and the one that essentially we can get behind. Now, there are other assorted sorority sisters, one played by Margot Kidder, um, Barb, who is, that foul mouthed, alcoholic sorority sister who really adds a bit of raunchiness to the film. Now, I've said before that the first time I watched this, I didn't like it. I guess I didn't get it, and thought it was overly raunchy and vulgar and not didn't really have anything going for it. I don't know what was going on in my brain that I could not get this movie. But the second time I watched, and I've told this story before, is that the second time I watched, I waited a little while, watched it again. It was late at night. I was alone in my parents' living room watching this movie. And I swear to you, if the phone had rang, I would have jumped right out of my skin. And this movie also has the tagline, if this one doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight. And that is the perfect tagline to this movie, because we have these sorority sisters who they start out receiving obscene phone calls. And it was said that Bob Clark did a lot of the really nasty, uh, obscene phone calls. So he was the voice of that. Now, Nick Mancuso did he was the voice of Billy. And I think he had that down pat. Um, and he would, I think Nick Mancuso must have been or is quite a bit of a method actor, because I think he may have done this when he was doing some of the voices for the phone calls, like doing things like standing on his head and stuff like that when he was doing it. I know that he did do those things, um, when he did the commentary for Black Christmas as Billy, which some people might think, well, that's a little goofy, but it's very effective. But anyway, back to the movie. Nick Mancuso was perfect for this. I think Nick Mancuso has that kind of weird sense of humor, and his take on the Billy character was just absolutely amazing and skin crawlingly creepy. You know, so they start out, and these are obscene phone calls, overly vulgar obscene phone calls, but all obscene phone calls are vulgar. I've got an obscene phone call. I got an obscene phone call when I was working at my first library job, and I won't. I won't go into great detail about that, but I've been on the receiving end of an obscene phone call, and it's not fun. But the sorority sisters seem to take this in stride, all except Claire, who seemed a little bit more shaken by. So, in addition, and if you haven't seen these movies and don't want spoilers, before I get really deep into these movies, I'm going to give spoilers. So, spoiler alert. Okay. So, Claire is going to be the first victim of Billy, because we see Billy, which is actually the cameraman, climbing up the trellis of the sorority house and going into the attic. Okay. But it's supposed to be Billy. It's supposed to be Billy's point of view, sneaking into the house and hiding in the attic. Okay. So Claire's not really in the mood to be celebrating with the rest of the girls, and Barb is kind of sarcastic to her and doesn't treat her real well. So Claire goes up to her room to pack for the next day when her father's going to pick her up. And she hears a noise coming from the closet, and she thinks it's Claude the cat. She goes into the closet, and she can see something kind of in the closet, like behind some plastic. And she's like, who is it? She's doing a stupid thing. But it's a horror movie thing. We've seen it a million times for those of us that have watched a lot of these horror movies. And all of a sudden, this is a jump scare here where Billy just comes forward with that plastic and comes towards Claire. It's just like, oh, like that. And then the next thing you know, Claire has been murdered and she's up in the attic in a rocking chair with a plastic bag or whatever over her face. And so that's our first kill. Um, I wouldn't say that the kills are extremely bloody. Barb's death is probably one of the bloodiest. But I don't think this movie needs to show a lot because the atmosphere really makes up for there not being a lot of really super gory kills. If you want to see a lot of super gory kills, then you probably need to watch the 2006 remake. As X-Ray said, it's the remake from 2006 is very gory and very mean spirited. Hey, Darren. Hey, Super Batman Nerd. I'm going to read through some of these messages. X-Ray, you say the trailer featured the really cute girl from Buffy saying "Merry Christmas, motherfucker" while cocking a shotgun. Not in the movie. I don't think there were any firearms in the film. I don't believe there were. You say that one boyfriend of one of the victims who looks like Peter Dinklage if he were born normal height. X-Ray, you say, pretty sure Margot Kidder was playing herself in that. I have heard that was pretty much her being her. X-Ray, you say, she looks like she drank and banged a lot in the 70s and 80s. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. So, this movie, and this might not be a thing that some people want to watch, but I liken watching this movie to being in a pressure cooker because the tension and the creepiness and all of that just keeps building and building and building to a crescendo till there's only Olivia Hussey and Billy left. And the eyeball scene where she just sees the eyeball and you hear Billy saying, Agnes, don't you tell them what we did, is one of the creepiest scenes in movie history. I kid you not. And then when she runs to get away and she runs downstairs and Billy reaches out a hand and grabs her hair. And it's just very tension, very high level tension to this movie. And, like I said, I'm not going to spend like a super long time on all of these, but Black Christmas for me definitely gets 5 Deadites out of 5. It's not going to get any lower. It's got to get 5 Deadites out of 5 for me. So that's Black Christmas. This is one I was rewatching today. Hence it has the DVD in there, but not the Blu-ray. And that is The Dorm That Dripped Blood, Pranks, or Death Dorm. Now, this actually has the Dorm That Dripped Blood title on it. But when you watch the movie, it actually says Death Dorm. The title Death Dorm comes up. But I first knew it under the title of Pranks. Okay. Because there are some pranks that are played in this film. But probably The Dorm That Dripped Blood or Death Dorm are probably more suitable titles for this movie. Um, X-Ray, you say, it's funny how the original is about a deranged maniac who lives in the attic, while the modern one is about white man bad Illuminati cults, right? Um, so I'm definitely not going to give The Dorm That Dripped Blood as high a rating as I just did for Black Christmas. That's obvious because this is not as well made of a film. Okay. You have uh Daphne Zuniga, who, spoiler alert, gets killed about 17 minutes into the film. So it's a very young Daphne Zuniga. This may have been one of the first, if not the first film that she was ever in. But she doesn't last very long in this. This was directed by Jeffrey Obrow and Stephen Carpenter. Occasionally, you will see movies that are directed by two people. I think Ken and Jim Wheat, who are brothers, I believe, they directed After Midnight, that anthology horror film. I know I've talked about it on here before. Chris, you say I need to get that, The Dorm That Dripped Blood. Yeah, I mean it's a decent movie. It takes place on the eve of Christmas vacation. The main girl, I guess you would call her Joanne, um, is, instead of going skiing with her boyfriend, she opts to stay behind to sell off all the furniture and stuff like that from this dorm that is condemned. And it's actually a dorm that she's currently living in, but it's condemned. And what they're going to do, her and three other people, well, it started out four, but Daphne Zuniga's character, they all think is going home for the holidays. And instead, she gets killed off, like I said, about 17 minutes into the film. So, four people total end up staying behind to clear this dorm out, sell all the equipment and furniture and all that off. And then after that, the dorm will be demolished. And then that means that Joanne and anybody else that was living in that condemned dorm, why they'd be living in a dorm that had been already condemned, I don't know. But, that's horror movie logic, right? So, usually condemned to me means dangerous. So, there's somebody that is watching this small group of students that is staying behind to clear out this dorm and sell off stuff. And there's also, and I was confused by this for a long time. But there's like a side relationship going on between Joanne and Brian, one of the other guys that's staying behind. Because there's a really quick scene. I mean, it kind of seems out of place because nothing really ever comes of it. But if you listen to the dialogue that you're able to hear, it seems as though Joanne and Brian had a relationship, and for whatever reason they broke it off, and then she ended up with Tim, and Tim is the guy that was going skiing. But you see this one real quick shot where her and Brian are sitting across the table from each other. They're alone, and they're talking about how, something to the effect of they didn't try hard enough to make it work, and then you see them kiss. But again, it's a throwaway scene because nothing ever comes of that, really. And you don't see Tim, the boyfriend, come back or anything like that. It's not like he comes back and catches them kissing or anything. So we go on, and there's this weird guy. I guess he's a homeless guy, John Hemmett, who is kind of creeping around the college. And he's actually staying in one of the rooms somewhere on the campus. Like probably another abandoned dorm or whatever that nobody goes into. It could even be the Dayton Hall dorm that they're getting rid of eventually. Um, but I guess either nobody cares to ask him to leave or anything like that. He's a guy that gets things out of dumpsters to use and to eat, I guess. Um, but as we all know from watching horror films, the obvious choice is never the killer. So they set John Hammond up to be a red herring, essentially. Um, but slowly, the students that stay behind start getting killed off. I will not tell you who the killer is because that's not necessary really for me doing this review. So I won't spoil that for you. So if you haven't seen The Dorm That Dripped Blood, I'm not giving anything away about who the killer is, other than to tell you that John Hemmett is not the killer. John Hemmett is an obvious red herring. I think what probably makes this movie stand out a little bit more so than some of these other low budget horror films in general um, is the special effects. One special effect in particular has a maintenance man, handyman, whatever at the college, getting drilled in the back of his head by his own drill. I think that that effect looks very realistic. Now, some people might disagree with me there, but you can tell that it's not. In some angles, you can tell that it's not the real guy getting his head drilled, obviously. But there's one shot where the drill goes into the back of the head, and it's early on in the killing. Um, and it looks, to me, it looks damn realistic. Um, so I think the special effects in particular are what make this one rise up a little bit further than just your standard horror fare. And I'm not talking there's like wall to wall blood or anything like that. This film is not overly gory. Um, some of the stuff you don't even see. For instance, Daphne Zuniga's death. She passes out, and then the killer runs over her head with her parents' car, basically. You got people getting beat in the head, you got people getting strangled. Um, you get one girl that gets, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It looks like some kind of big pot or something, but um, essentially he kills her and then puts her in this big pot, and it's like I guess he boils her or something. I don't know. I've never seen anything exactly like it. I thought maybe it was an industrial dishwasher, but I don't know. I just don't know what it is. Perhaps if you guys and gals watch it, you can give me your thoughts on what that is, or you can say, "Hey, Dana, you're stupid. It's obviously this." Um, Now, this if you get the Synapse version under the title "The Dorm That Dripped Blood," this is the director's cut. This is a version of the film that was thought to have been lost for 30 years. Now, some people might say, well, it should have remained lost. And Steve bought it and ended up giving his copy to me. Um, he said, truly, I don't know why I bought it. And I was like, I don't know why you bought it either, because I don't think he likes it very well. A few years back, we did a commentary for it, but I don't think he's ever much liked it. So if you watched other versions of it, it's been so long since I watched it under the title of Pranks. this may be a little more bloody than the pranks version. But to me, this is the version to get if you can get it. So, I would probably have to take it down a couple of Deadites to a 3. Because I don't hate it, but when I compare it to some of these others that I'm going to talk about tonight, it can't rise to the top for me. So this one gets the Dorm That Drip Blood gets 3 Deadites out of 5. Okay, so about middle of the road. Not an awful film, not a top of the line film. Okay. So the next one, I cannot show you the cover because it would get me dropping stuff. It would essentially probably get me kicked off of YouTube. And you guys and gals that are familiar with this movie probably know what I'm talking about. And that's Don't Open Till Christmas. This is the original cover art for it. Now, the Vinegar Syndrome cover art is the one that, the alternate cover art is what I can't show you on here. But I think this is pretty cool cover art too, with the knife going into the gift. And it says, "The gift of terror just won't wait." I always thought that was a pretty cool image. So Don't Open Till Christmas kind of has a checkered past. It was like a start again, stop again type of film. Actually, Edmund Purdom from Pieces started out directing the film as well as acting as a police inspector. And somewhere along the way, I guess he just wasn't doing a good job with this. He got fired from directing. And so, if the film seems a little disjointed in parts, that's probably why. But I still think it's a very good slasher Christmas film. It's a British film. And in this, it's not somebody dressing as Santa Claus or Father Christmas, as they say in the UK. It's people that are dressed as Santa Claus or Father Christmas that are getting murdered. And this is not one of those movies that keeps you guessing till the end who the killer is either. The killer is pretty, part of it might be that I've seen so many movies like this, but I don't really think they were trying to make it a mystery about who the killer was. Because when I saw this guy, it was obvious to me that this guy was off in some way. He just had wild eyes and he's just weird acting. So we find out that the guy that is the killer had a trauma happen on Christmas or Christmas Eve maybe when he was a child. And what happened was his dad was dressed as Santa Claus or Father Christmas, whichever way you want to look at it. And there were a lot of people over at their house. They were having a Christmas party. And he comes in on his father having an affair, having sex essentially with this other woman. His mother is sending him up to bed, and this is what he sees. Then the mother comes in to check on him, to tuck him in or whatever, and sees her husband in the process of, having sex with this woman. And this husband's not a very good husband, obviously, because he pushes the wife and she falls down the stairs, and we're to assume, I guess, that she died in the fall, broke her neck or whatever. So what happened is the guy that's doing the killing, he saw this, he was traumatized. So therefore, now he wants to kill anybody dressed as Santa Claus. And so that's your basic story of this. Um, there's a lot of blood, or quite a bit of blood in this, including one guy who gets his member cut off while he's taking a pee. But again, he's dressed as Santa Claus, so he's got to go, right? So you see that. You see a guy getting his face, a chestnut vendor dressed as Santa Claus, getting his face burned off on the grill where he's roasting actual chestnuts. And we have a little bit of a crime element because this girl's father is killed at the beginning, and so a lot of the action centers around trying to find out who killed her father. Um, so definitely not any complicated plot to get in the way of the story, as Joe Bob says. You have the lovely Caroline Monroe. Um, this is a kind of an odd part for her. She's only in there for a couple of minutes, a couple of scenes maybe. And she, if you want to see Caroline Monroe wearing a tight red shiny dress and singing Warrior of Love, yes, that is the song, and, dancing across the stage, then, this movie would definitely be for you. And so it's got a lot for me to love anyway, in this. And it actually lists on, or says on the back of this disc, that this was the product of an extremely troubled production. It no doubt was. If you watch the documentary on it, um, I think that's the making of a horror film. There's like, that's an archival making of documentary, but there's also, I think there's also another documentary. There's a lot of interviews and stuff like that. You get to hear Edmund Purdum's daughter talk. There's featurettes and all kinds of stuff in this. But that's Don't Till Christmas. Again, not a very complicated horror film or film of any type. Um, and I would give this one. This one's going to go a step up from the Dorm That Drip Blood, and this is going to get 4 Deadites out of 5. So this one's a little bit more. Had a little bit more for me to like or love or whatever, um, than the Dorm That Drip Blood. X-Ray, you say, man, I really got to find these. I haven't seen a lot of these Christmas horror films, sadly. Oh, yeah, I would highly recommend all of these that I'm going to talk about tonight, even the ones that I don't give 4 or 5 Deadites. X-Ray, you say, Juan Piquer Simone is underrated, like a Spanish answer to Bruno Mattei. All right, so the next movie I want to talk about is Christmas Evil, or You Better Watch Out was the other title for this. And this concerns a man who, as a child, he was traumatized by seeing what he thought was Santa Claus. It was actually his father dressed as Santa Claus, pleasuring his mother on Christmas Eve. That sent him into a delusional state, so that whenever he becomes an adult, he is not able to get past all of that. And so he begins to have delusions that he is Santa Claus. He keeps a book of good girls and boys and a book of bad girls and boys. He makes a lot of his own toys. But where he goes off the rails is when he sees a lot of people, especially adults, not taking the Christmas holiday seriously or as seriously as he thinks they should. He thinks it's blasphemy the way that they treat the holiday. And so he just completely goes off the rails and starts killing people on Christmas Eve. Hence the title, Christmas Evil. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. This movie came before Silent Night, Deadly Night, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and all that. And it never got on anybody's radar. And at first I didn't really understand, why did Silent Night, Deadly Night get all that hate? And Christmas Evil was able to just slide right under the radar. And the more I thought about it, and the more I've discussed this with people, it has to be that damn poster for Silent Night, Deadly Night of what looks like Santa going down the chimney with an axe, which was posted in movie theaters all over, advertising the movie that was going to come out. So parents taking their kids to see an appropriate movie for kids, the kids would see these posters and, probably be sleeping in between their parents for the next month or so. So, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So I'm guessing Christmas Evil was a little more low key. It wasn't tooting its own horn, so to speak, or any of that. And I enjoy Christmas Evil. I think Christmas Evil was another one that had to essentially grow on me. I didn't hate it the first time I watched it, but I don't think I got all out of it what I could. It took, additional watchings before the really creepy aspects really started to sink in. X-Ray, you say, this one I definitely saw many, many times. I consider this more like a dark character study than a slasher. It's Christmas Taxi Driver, exactly. X-Ray, you say it has one of the greatest endings to any movie ever. This is a genuinely creepy, downbeat movie. I feel like Joker ripped this off more than anything else. That's an interesting take on it. And you loved it on your very first watch. It just blew me away. Yeah, I wish that I could say that I got everything this movie had to offer the first time I watched it. However, sometimes I'm a little dense when it comes to even horror movies, which I love. Yes, TJ. I think you're right on that too. You say also, I think Christmas Evil had a very limited release, so it flew under the radar, if you will. Silent Night, Deadly Night was a wide release, exactly. Silent Night, Deadly Night. TriStar Pictures put that sucker out. That could be X-Ray. I just sometimes I have to give movies a little bit for them to actually grow on me. It probably shocks people when I tell them my first impression of the original Black Christmas was not favorable. But I really don't. I think this movie would be more effective, especially if you haven't watched it. If I don't go on and on about it, if I give you that base level stuff and then let you watch it on your own and make your own, interpretations and see it without hearing too much input from somebody else. Because sometimes you can get too much input and you go to watch something you've never seen before, and all you can think of is what somebody has said or what somebody has written or whatever. But anyway, this is not a straight slasher. It would, as X-Ray put it, be more of a dark character study. Um, Basically, watching a man lose his mind and go into this complete fantasy world. And that in and of itself is scary, though, that someone could come that unhinged and lose any sense of reality. Um, it does have a great ending. I will agree with X-Ray on that too. Yeah, this cover art is not really good. Um, I would agree. It probably, if I didn't already know about the movie, I don't think this will make me want to watch it or buy it. And damn, Vinegar Syndrome did this. Does anybody know if they have a better, like a slipcover or something that has better artwork? Um, because I don't think, no, this one's not a double-sided one. Yeah, actually, you said looks like a bad Rob Zombie shirt. So I would also give this one 4 Deadites out of 5. Uh, because it's not, off the charts, but it is a very, very good Christmas horror film or dark character study, if you want to call it that. But that's Christmas Evil. Okay, so the next one, I think people have mixed feelings about this next one I'm going to talk about. Some people enjoy it for what it is. Some people are like, it's just meh. It's not one that they're going to watch um, a lot. TJ, you say there was a slip for Christmas Evil. Did it look better than that artwork I just showed? X-Ray says, I give it 10,000 Deadites out of 5. But anyway, the next one I want to talk about is To All a Good Night, directed by David Hess. Has the tagline, You'll Scream Till Dawn. And if you look closely at this, it kind of gives away one of the killers in this, because this has not one but 2 killers dressed as Santa in it. Okay. And so upon rewatching this again, I noticed that they don't really do a good job of hiding who one of the killers is. Because this is a revenge scenario. We start out the movie, we see this young girl being chased. It's evident this is a finishing school and not a college, but it appears that they're doing some kind of hazing, and the young girl is being chased by the other girls at the school, and one of them has this creepy Santa Claus mask. And I don't know if the axe is real or not. I think one of them's got an axe in their hand, and they're chasing her around. I think they're saying sorority, sorority. So, I mean, even though it's called a finishing school, I think the way it's set up is pretty much like a sorority. So what ends up happening is they back this girl up until eventually she falls off a balcony to her death. Okay. And then you see like her dead body, her face flashing to a picture. You see this same picture on not the house mother's in the house mother's room. The house mother, Miss Calvin, is gone for the holidays, and Miss Jensen, who is basically, she cooks for the girls and stuff like that, she stays behind to watch over the girls that are not going home for the Christmas holidays for whatever reason. So what the girls that are left behind are planning to do, with the exception of Nancy. Nancy is the good girl played by Jennifer Runyon. They're planning on drugging Miss Jensen. Putting, fixing her some warm milk or cocoa or something. Lord, I hope it was cocoa, because warm milk just by itself sounds really gross to me. But maybe I don't know what's good. So they put this drug in her warm milk, and they coerce Nancy into bringing it up to her. Well, when she goes up to Miss Jensen's room, you see the picture of the girl that died right behind her. And so I know what I've said before about the obvious person is usually not the killer, but in revenge scenarios, it's usually somebody that was connected with the person that got killed. And even though this was an accident, when something happens to, sorry, I may have to get up and actually get myself something to drink, but I think I'm going to have to do that. So if y'all will permit me, I'm going to go get me a refresher on my drink so I won't be hacking. Hey, Coco. You say warm milk does sound gross, but hot cocoa and milk is the only way to go. I agree with you, Coco. None of that water and cocoa mix. Some of that cocoa mix is good, but damn it, mix it with milk and not water. Okay, for the best effect. Um, X-ray, you say that one is on Tubi. Hope it's worth a fuck. You mean To All a Good Night? TJ said we can all relate to a finishing school setting. X-ray says finishing school has a sinister feel to it. That should have been the title. That would have been an interesting title. So I definitely, it took me a few viewings before I noticed that damn girl's picture was right behind Miss Jensen in her room. So the reason why they were drugging Miss Jensen is because one of the girls' boyfriend, TJ, is flying in with some other guys, and including some boyfriends of some of the other girls. Now, Jennifer Runyon's character of Nancy is not planning on meeting up with a boyfriend or anything like that. It is assumed, I guess, that she doesn't have one at that point. So we see an early kill of a boyfriend who's come to sneak his girlfriend out of the school, and he gets killed and she gets killed. Um, so it's your typical, stalk and slash type of thing. No more, no less. Okay. But I do enjoy watching it. And Harry Reams. And in case you don't know who Harry Reams is, I think most people have heard that name. He was a big guy in the porn industry at one time. And So Harry Reams plays the pilot that is actually flying the boys in to meet the girls. And I believe, yeah, Sandy Cobe, which is probably a familiar name to those of you that have seen things like Terror on Tour and, a few other things. I think Home Sweet Home as well. And I know there's some other stuff. I'm just forgetting it. It was directed by David Hess. The screenplay was by Alex Rabar, who I think also had something to do with both Terror on Tour and Home Sweet Home. Nah, Harry Reams didn't ever give me the vapes though, X-ray. But hey, Wes, uh, TJ says finish them off school. But anyway, I mean, another very uncomplicated plot. Um, Not a lot of stuff that you're going to just have to sit there and think about. Um, there is, I think my favorite kill probably is one of the girls getting her head cut off while she's having, or while she was attempting to have sex with her boyfriend. He gets, stabbed with a spear like thing through him as they're having sex, and then she gets her head cut off. So, and the head does show up again in a couple of other scenes. So, um, yeah, I would say this one's probably 3 deadites out of 5. It's maybe slightly higher than The Dorm That Dripped Blood. Some people don't like this movie at all. But I'm not going to say that. I get some enjoyment out of it. Yeah, it's a silly little slasher movie. Like I said, no more, no less. But if you're not expecting much, I think you will enjoy it because it does have some highlights to it. There are some good points. And I think David Hess did a great job directing it. So, anyway, that's all a good night. Uh, so, the next one is one I talked about briefly when I was talking about Christmas Evil, and that is Silent Night, Deadly Night. And this time we do have a guy dressed as Santa killing people off. He knows when you've been naughty, right? Okay. This movie, it has a lot of backstory to it as far as the uproar over when it was originally released. So much so that it got pulled from the theaters and came out, a few years later. And I think what killed that movie when it first came out was somebody was too good at their job of promoting this movie. Okay. And I talked about the poster art, the original poster art for Silent Night, Deadly Night a little bit earlier. So again, you have young Billy who is going, the movie starts out, young Billy's going with his parents and his baby brother, Ricky, to see Grandpa. And at first watch of this, you may, oh, they're going to spend, Christmas Eve with Grandpa. Oh, that's nice, But we come to find out that Grandpa is in a mental health facility. He's in a mental hospital. So that's essentially what the family's going to do. They're going to visit Grandpa in the mental hospital. So we're led to believe when we first see Grandpa that he is just sitting in a chair, not moving, just staring straight ahead. It appears that he is catatonic. And, this is essentially what the doctor tells Billy's father. that his father, is, he's not getting well. And so the doctor wants to speak to Billy's mother and father in his office. So I don't think I would leave any child, especially a child that is as young as Billy is in this, alone in a mental hospital. I don't care if it was a recreational room or what. I couldn't fathom me doing this. But they leave Billy there with Grandpa, and as soon as they're out of sight and out of earshot, Grandpa comes to life and turns towards Billy and fills his head full of very scary shit, basically, about what Santa Claus does on Christmas Eve to children that have not been good all year. And I think the guy that plays Grandpa is Will Hare, I think. And he's he creeped the shit out of me the first time I watched this. And the first time I watched it, um, was not at a theater, of course. I discovered this one when there was a time when a lot of like grocery stores and stuff like this would have a corner section or something devoted to video rentals. And that there was a local grocery store that they got both this one and Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which I ended up renting both of them at different points in times. But I was like, this, I've never seen this before. This looks interesting. So I took it home, and it's a wonder it didn't traumatize me. Because after that, the family is heading home, and we see a scene before they're, really on their way home, where a guy dressed as Santa Claus robs a guy in a store and shoots him in the head, basically. I think maybe the head and the chest, too. Yeah, the grandfather was very, very creepy. But, so we see that he's probably stolen the car that he takes off in as well. He stole money from the clerk at the store that he killed, and he takes off in this car. And I'm guessing he gets a flat tire, or the engine goes kaplooey or whatever. And lo and behold, Billy's family comes upon this killer dressed as Santa Claus. So Billy's head's already been filled with, what Santa does on Christmas Eve to kids that haven't been good all year, right? So he's already got that in his head. So this guy in front of Billy kills his father. He shoots him, kills him, and essentially, rapes and murders his mother. Billy runs off to hide in the weeds. And then after the killer dressed as Santa Claus kills his father, rapes and kills his mother, he slits her throat. He stands up and he says, "Where are you, you little bastard?" And, Billy's just, and this is the sweetest looking boy. The Billy, the young Billy is so cute. And to see that child just cowering in the weeds, and this guy, dressed as Santa Claus is screaming at him. I think that would traumatize me too. So, needless to say, Billy doesn't have a good impression of Santa Claus. That did not leave a good impression on him. So he grows up in an orphanage run by, sadistic mother superior. There's like one nun that really kind of tries to take Billy under her wing, tries to understand why he reacts the way he does on Christmas. And we see Billy, being forced to sit on Santa's lap and show gratitude, as the Mother Superior says. You will show gratitude. And he punches the Santa Claus and bloodies his nose. So years later, when Billy becomes a young adult, he needs a job. So the nun that was always nice to him gets him a job at the local toy store. And inevitably, he is asked to play Santa Claus. And his boss gets drunk and has to say to Billy, while Billy's still in the Santa costume, you know what Santa Claus does on Christmas Eve, don't you? And he said, yeah, I know what he does. So I think Robert Brian Wilson, who plays the adult Billy, um, is really great in this. This is a movie that you have Linnea Quigley being topless and speared on deer antlers. I kid you not. If you've not seen this, and you're a horror fan, I think you're in for a real treat. So a lot of good kills in this one. I think pretty creative in some cases. Um, there's just something to me that is inherently creepy about a guy dressed as Santa Claus, even if he's not supposed to be Santa Claus, uh, killing people on Christmas Eve. Um, so, um, yeah, I'm going to have to give this one 5 Deadites out of 5. If you've never seen Silent Night, Deadly Night, I urge you to watch it. Unless it's against your religion or something like that. And also, just a little reminder that I will be doing a watch along this Saturday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Silent Night, Deadly Night. So be sure to join me for that. TJ says, wait a second, let me go up here. Yeah, Wes did get your name right, didn't he? Wes, you say I kind of like Till a Good Night Now. Blissful says, wow, a Christmas miracle. You got my name right. Uh, TJ says, I'll just call you Law. Uh, Wes says, I direct linked it on the Facebook page. TJ says, nice Facebook promotion for the Patreon, CK. Wes says, thanks, T. We ain't got over 2,500 patrons like Joe Bob. We rely on word of mouth promotion, boss. TJ says, Grandpa was faking being catatonic, which shows how much of an old ass he was. And well, she said, Gramps had a larger role in American Ninja. And again, X-Ray, I totally agree. The grandfather was probably the creepiest part of the movie. TJ says it's hilarious that Grandpa shows up in Back to the Future. Well, she said that little child pulled at my heartstrings in that film. Very dramatic moment. Yeah, that Mother Superior. You say lived up until a few years ago. I heard she was farting cobwebs for decades before she passed. TJ says little Billy was an X-Man. The way he knocked Santa across the room, practically. That's right. Which moves us to Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, um, which I also rented at the same grocery store as I rented Silent Night, Deadly Night. And it says the nightmare is about to begin again. And here's the thing about Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, in case you didn't already know this, is this movie, even if you miss Silent Night, Deadly Night, this has practically all of Silent Night, Deadly Night in this movie with a wraparound story of Ricky, Billy's brother, which if you watch Silent Night, Deadly Night and saw the end, and you see that Billy gets killed, and the last thing Ricky says is he looks at the Mother Superior and he says, naughty. And maybe you didn't know they were going to make a sequel back then, but you knew that that was setting it up for a sequel. So we get Mr. Eric Freeman right there. It's garbage day, right? For people that have seen it, you know exactly what garbage day is. And there must be 100 million memes that say it's garbage day or just garbage day, and have Eric Freeman from that scene. And, but I think probably that's one of the best lines ever uttered, or best phrase ever uttered in a horror film. Garbage day. Okay. So, and this movie has to be seen to be believed and to be enjoyed. If you've not seen this, hell, if you haven't seen both of these, definitely go get them. These two are the best of the bunch. I know some people like the sequels. The third one basically has Bill Moseley as Ricky, walking around with a clear salad bow on his head. And I'm not kidding. And, you know, one of them I think is a pretty jumbled mess. And, but the first two I really enjoy. And I almost have to watch them back to back when I watch them. So, like I said, you got almost the whole entirety of Silent Night, Deadly Night with the wraparound of Ricky telling, how he got adopted, uh, and he was a very sensitive child because of all the stuff that, you know, he had seen that happened to his brother Billy. And that Billy told him a lot of what happened when he was a baby. And, he wouldn't have been old enough to know. Well, Wes is not going to like me probably when I give this rating. Because I'm not going to give it a low rating. I'm just not going to give it as high a rating as Silent Night, Deadly Night. Okay. But very entertaining. Some of the scenes are just make you laugh out loud. And you're probably thinking, how can you laugh at a horror movie? Well, if you haven't seen this, and Eric Freeman and his amazing eyebrows, and if you don't know what I'm talking about amazing eyebrows, watch this movie and you will see. And I don't know, it's just probably the one of the more perfect mashups of horror and very dark comedy that I've seen. And there are murders in it. I ain't gonna blow smoke up your ass and tell you that there's no murders in it. But Eric Freeman is just so over the top as a Ricky, but it's entertaining. It's not one of those things where it seems out of place. I mean, it seems to fit right in with the themes of this, this film and the first film. So, don't think I need to go into deep detail about it. It basically, Ricky wants to break out of the mental hospital or prison or wherever he's at, to again go after Mother Superior, which is what Billy ended up doing. And this time, Ricky plans on finishing Mother Superior off. Okay. So I would give this one 4 Deadites out of 5. Okay. Um, so that's what I meant by Wes probably isn't going to like that. I gave the original one 5 Deadites out of 5 and only gave this one 4 Deadites out of 5. TJ, you say should be called Silent Night Deadly Night 1.2. And again, Wes says Silent Night Deadly Night 2 is the best Silent Night Deadly Night movie. Super Batman Nerd says garbage day. So that brings me to the next movie. And then we're going to be out of the horror ones and then into the non-horror ones. Okay. But they're still going to be on the Deadite scale was right. Now, Wes is in here. He's probably going to, his brain's going to explode. Because this also has Christmas Evil on it. But what else does it have is Silent Night, Bloody Night. This is one of those Diamond Entertainment bottom of the barrel releases. Okay. So it's not going to look really good. Okay. But this is the only copy of Silent Night, Bloody Night I have. I know people have talked about the transfers not being good. That there basically is no good transfer for Silent Night, Bloody Night. And some people that hate this film would say, well, who the hell cares whether it's got a good transfer? It's an awful movie. Okay. I thought it was an awful movie the first time I watched it. It's only 83 minutes long. Some people would say it probably seems double or triple that length. Came out in 1973, has Mary Warnoff in it. I know that a lot of people would probably say Mary Warnoff's sleepwalking through this movie. The movie is very moody. I think TJ called it an art house type of movie, and I could see that. But like I said, the first time I ever saw this, I thought it was slow. I thought it was boring as shit. I didn't get why a movie like this needed to be made. And to top it off, I got the title confused and thought it was Silent Night, Deadly Night. And then when I got it home, put the disc in, I was like, damn, this ain't Silent Night, Deadly Night. This is Silent Night, Bloody Night. But I sat down and watched it. Didn't like it the first time I saw it. Then I waited a while and I watched it again. And although there are some slow parts in it, I ain't going to lie to you. I ain't going to lie to you. But there is also some very creepy scenes. The creepy phone calls that all the townspeople are getting. So let's give a little background on Silent Night, Bloody Night, shall we? For those of you that haven't seen it and haven't heard me talk about it before. So we start out hearing about a man who had a daughter who, I guess she slipped into depression and pretty much catatonia. We find out later it's because her father molested her. And, as he should be, I guess the guilt overtook him of what he had done to his own daughter. He had essentially gotten her pregnant. Um, when she gave birth, she was not fit to mother the child, and um, the child was adopted by someone else. And so, because of the father's guilt, he wanted to make his daughter well. Okay, so he invites all these so-called doctors, psychiatrists, and stuff to his home, and basically turns his home into a show place for these doctors. And also, these doctors are supposed to be treating mental patients, and he is his hope that all these supposedly great doctors will cure his daughter. And that's not what happens. These people are not good people. They basically lock all the mental patients except for Marianne uh, in a barn, shed, whatever, off from the house. Okay. They basically just lock a whole mass of people in there. And who knows when they feed them, or when we see them, their clothes are dirty, and the not good hygiene and all that stuff. So the doctor, I mean the father of Marianne, um, becomes so disillusioned by these doctors who are just basically, um, hold on, guys and gals, I just got a message from Jay. All right. And I will tell you guys, just like I just told Jay, the reason why I didn't send him the link and invite him is because I'm reviewing Christmas movies. And tomorrow on Midday with Dana and Jay, we will be talking about Christmas movies, Christmas memories, and all that. So I wasn't sure if he wanted, kind of a double dose of that or not. Um, so anyway, he's just so disgusted with these doctors that he gets the idea that he will just take Marianne away from here, but he's got to do one thing first. He's got to let these mental patients out of that shed and just let them, do what they will to these doctors who have all gotten drunk and stuffed themselves full of food, and all that, and they're just basically out of it. And so that's what happens. He lets the mental patients free. They go in there, they get weapons, and they kill all these doctors. And in the process, Marianne must come out of her room. She gets mixed in with the mental patients. They think she's part of the bad doctors that have treated them so badly, and supposedly they killed her. But now someone is claiming to be Marianne and calling the townsfolk and telling them to come to her house. And they do. And essentially, they end up getting killed. I think the phone calls are creepy. There is one really good kill near the beginning of the film where I believe he's either a lawyer or a real estate guy. He's coming to sell the estate or settle the estate for Marianne's son. And he has a wife, but he also has a mistress, and his mistress is with him. They're gonna stay in that house for the night or whatever, and they are very viciously murdered. Um, near the beginning of the film, I mean, basically chopped with an axe. I mean, blood's going everywhere and stuff. Um, that's probably the best kill of the movie. A lot of the other kills take place in darkness and stuff. It was pretty lit up in this one. So I and people are probably going to think that I'm being, especially Wes and other people that don't think too kindly of this movie, are going to think I'm being way too generous when I say I'm going to give this one 3 Deadites out of 5. Not quite up there with the others, some of the others I've talked about, but I like it. I enjoy it. And I haven't gotten around to watching it this year yet, but I will be soon. Um, so that's Silent Night, Bloody Night. Let me see. TJ, you say Home for the Holidays. The TV movie is a good Christmas horror. Predates Black Christmas, has some good actors in it. Is that the one that has Sally Field in it, TJ? Because I think I've seen it. It's been a while, but I remember liking it. What do I think about the big twist at the end of Silent Night, Bloody Night? I like it. Um, some people might say, "Oh no, that's." But how many other movies have done something similar? So I enjoyed it for what it was. They maybe could have made it slightly better. I don't want to give away too much in case there's some of you that haven't seen it, thinking about seeing it, um, and don't want everything revealed about it. I try to be nice on some of these. Okay, so that was the one. Um, what happened was, I there's also a Thanksgiving movie called Home for the Holidays, which I had a watch along for around the Thanksgiving season, and of course, was a comedy movie about a dysfunctional family on Thanksgiving. Okay, now the family in Home for the Holidays is slightly dysfunctional, but it's definitely not a comedy movie. And it doesn't take place on Thanksgiving. It actually takes place on Christmas or around Christmas. And Steve downloaded it for me, thinking it was Home for the Holidays with Holly Hunter and Robert Downey Jr. But something good, like I said, did come out of that mistake because I discovered a movie I didn't even know existed and really enjoyed it. And I actually need to go back and rewatch that again. Yeah, TJ, I like that too. You say I do like what it is that the victims of Silent Night, Bloody Night have in common. Not a bad twist, exactly. Um, I just think, the people that claim to not like this or say they don't like this need to give it another watch. I mean, that's what it took for me. It took another watch before I was actually able to get behind this movie. So, um, but I don't know. Jay may decide to join me. I don't know. But we're on the last 5 movies, which these are not going to be horror. And the first one I want to talk about is It's a Wonderful Life. Just did a watch along with Jay for this one. I was a late adopter of this film to my Christmas repertoire of films that I watch. Now you know, I absolutely love this film. I can't get enough of this film. Generally, I do only watch it at Christmas time, but I could very well, it's that good of a film. I very well could see myself bringing it out at other points in times, and not just waiting for Christmas or the Christmas season to watch it. Um, so It's a Wonderful Life, starring Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed. Jimmy Stewart is absolutely amazing in this. It's a story of a man who eventually feels like life has passed him by, and he's really down at his lowest point at you know at a certain point in the film, and he's thinking of taking his own life. And you may be thinking, well, gee, Dana, that's going to bring us way down. But no, you have a guardian angel, Clarence, who comes into the picture, and he needs to basically restore uh, George Bailey's faith. Okay. Um, and he does this by showing George what life would have been like for the people that he knows, the people in this town he grew up in, his loved ones, what their lives would have been like had he never been born. And Clarence says it best when he says that he gave George a gift, the ability to see how he affected other people and what would have happened had he not been born and came into contact with all the people he came into contact with. When you think about it, it's a very simple story. But at the same time, there's something magical about this movie. I ain't gonna lie. I know you guys and gals probably think that's hokey, me saying a movie is magical. But this movie just fills my heart with I think a lot of us have lost a lot of hope for humanity. Some of us may think there is no hope for humanity. But you watch a film like It's a Wonderful Life, and I think that restores your faith or hope in humanity. And that is why I give It's a Wonderful Life 5 Deadites out of 5. You know, you got to. You got to. 5 Deadites out of 5. All right. Moving on to the next one is also one that I haven't watched this season yet. You're right, Blissful. It's a Wonderful Life is full of hope. But I haven't watched this one this season yet, and that's Gremlins. And Gremlins, I may give it a little higher rating than people think this one deserves, but I love Gremlins. And not all of it is what some people refer to as like sappy Christmas crap, Um it has cute Gizmo, who we can see there, who's a Mogwai, who is given as a Christmas gift to Billy, this young man, by his father, who essentially he's not really underhanded, but he goes into a shop, I think in Chinatown, and he sees this Mogwai, this creature that he said, oh my gosh, this would be the perfect gift for my son for Christmas. And the shopkeeper's like, it's kind of like the Spider-Man thing. He said, you got to be responsible it takes a certain person to own a mogwai, you know. But Billy's dad doesn't listen, and he, I'll give you any amount of money. No, the shopkeeper's not doing it. So Billy's father leaves in defeat, or he starts to leave in defeat. And that's when the grandson of the shopkeeper comes out and says, "Hey, mister, Grandpa's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Here, you can buy the mogwai from me." So he takes the mogwai home, and Billy opens it. And, at first, people might be thinking, "Oh, it's a little cuddly mogwai," um, and, nothing bad could come of this, right? So there were some rules that the shopkeeper's grandson told Billy's father that he must follow. Okay. So they don't like bright sunlight. It can kill them. Don't spill water on them. Okay. And we find out what happens when you do these things, because it's not fair to lay all these rules out and then some of them not come to fruition, right? Don't feed them after midnight is another thing. So what ends up happening is a neighbor boy comes over, played by Corey Feldman, and he ends up accidentally spilling water on Gizmo, which is what Billy names the mogwai. And these look like tufts of hair pop off of Gizmo. And Gizmo seems really worried about this. So they go into like a butterfly stage, like the caterpillar goes into a cocoon or spins a cocoon, and when it comes out, it's this beautiful butterfly. And so you get kind of a slimier version of that. And then when they hatch out, there are other mogwais. But there's one in particular that is called Stripe. They named Stripe. And he seems like he's not a good egg. So Stripe ends up getting the others. Like Gizmo stays away from them because he knows bad things are going to happen. Okay. So Stripe kind of gathers the other people, or other mogwais around him, and they conspire to be getting fed by midnight or after midnight. So they unplug Billy's clock, and he thinks, he looks and it's 11 something. So to him, it's before midnight. So he gives them some chicken. Well, then after that, things get really nasty. The mogwais turn into gremlins, and they basically take over the town. And so some parts of this are lighthearted, some parts of it are not. I wouldn't entirely say that this is a movie for all children. I mean, I watched it for the first time when I was young. But it's still, this is still a very, very fun film to watch at Christmas time or anytime if you choose to do so. And I just have a lot of fun with this movie. And I'm going to have to give it's going to have to get 5 Deadites out of 5 too, because it's just, yeah, you can't get Gremlins any lower than that, right? TJ, you say, just saw The Convent with Adrian Barbeau is coming out on 4K. Synapse can put that out. But GD Shout Factor can't upgrade Funeral Home to 4K. What the fuck? I know, TJ. I know. It just blows my mind. Blissel says, TJ, we need another rant about this. Oh my gosh, Blissel, you found a 32-year-old candy bar. I've been looking through stuff I packed from my 20s. 32-year-old candy bar. Hey, Jay. Jay says, who slew Auntie Roo was Shelley Winters. Is that a Christmas movie, Jay? TJ says, don't eat it, Blissful. And Blissful says, TJ, ick, no. I guess I forgot that too. TJ says, good one, Jay. Totally forgot that was a holiday movie. So, Jay, how many Deadites out of 5 would you give Who Slew Auntie Roo? Christmas and New Year's. So moving right along, we're down to the final 3 here. I've been on here almost 2 hours jabbering away. Is A Christmas Story. Now, I know. People say, I am so sick of Christmas Story at this point because it's on heavy rotation every Christmas season, or has been for the last several years. Usually TBS has 24 hours of A Christmas Story, right? And my mom never cared much for this movie. This movie I was introduced to when I was in the 9th grade. My 9th grade English teacher showed it to us right before the Christmas holiday, before school let out for Christmas holidays. And I was like, where has this gem been hiding? Because I love this movie. And it concerns little Ralphie, played by Peter Billingsley, whose ideal Christmas gift is a Red Ryder BB gun. And all the stuff he goes through to try to get this ever elusive gift. And this is based on Gene Shepard's story, In God We Trust, All Others Must Pay Cash. And from the leg lamp to Ralphie having to dress in a pink bunny pajamas or outfit, whatever you want to call it, getting that special Christmas tree, having a blowout, and Ralphie going to help his father change the tire, and losing all the lug nuts or whatever, or causing them to get scattered everywhere. And the old fudge scene, which is, not what he said. He said the F dash 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 word, the queen mother of dirty words. And you guys and gals that have seen this movie know exactly what I'm talking about. The creepy, sadistic Santa Claus that Ralphie thinks, I'll see the store Santa, the mall Santa, and I'll tell him I want the Red Ryder BB gun. The you'll shoot your eye out thing, and just on and on and on, getting his mouth washed out with soap, the kid getting his tongue stuck to the telephone pole, or some kind of, not a telephone pole maybe, but a metal pole. Just a wonderfully funny movie that I have to watch every year since I discovered it. And so once again, I have to give it 5 Deadites out of 5. Okay. You guys and gals are probably thinking, boy, dang, you're just going way over the top with these comedy movies. But I'll tell you, the comedy movies are a lot easier for me to give higher ratings than the horror movies, because there's not a lot to pick out, in my opinion, with a comedy film, unless it's just not funny and it's supposed to be funny, then that would be a big deal. Uh, Jay, you say about a three. Great for Shelley Winters. She's basically a Hansel and Gretel witch. TJ, you said, well, Jay, there's more to that movie. Winters is a disturbed character and technically is not the most evil person in it. Jay, you say, in the scene where a woman is murdered in her bed in Crystal, you can see a leg lamp on a table. It's real quick. Oh, now I'm going to have to go back and watch to see the leg lamp. I did not realize there was a leg lamp. Bliss, what you say? My cousin and I watch the movie every year, going over our more odd family Christmas memories. Yeah, sorry, Super Batman Nerd. Flagpole. That is exactly right. TJ, you say, love Christmas Story. People can watch the same damn horror movies every month, so give Christmas Story a break. That's right, TJ. Survivor Nerd said, yeah, TJ, but they don't get overplayed like a Christmas Story. However, I would like to add something to that. That is the network's fault, not, you know, not anybody else's fault, but the networks. I mean, why would they, I'm not saying Christmas Story's not enjoyable, but you are just asking for it to be overkill for some people, showing 24 hours of it. There's really no need to do that with any movie, in my opinion, whether I love it or I hate it. Let's say, TJ, what magazine was this story originally published? TJ says, so Crystal is a Christmas movie. Jay says, nah, Crystal is more summer. TJ says, yeah, but you don't have to watch the whole marathon. I usually watch the parts I like. Yeah, and if you miss part of it, you can watch it on the next viewing or whatever. So I get that too. So the next one is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You're probably thinking, gee, dang, you got a lot of 4Ks of these things. Okay, this is the Griswold Christmas Vacation. This is the one to watch. Okay, the Cousin Eddie thing, the Cousin Eddie's Christmas Vacation, I was excited about it at first, and then I watched it. I had the bad misfortune to watch it. Now, some of you out there might like it, you might enjoy it. But for me, this is my National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with the Griswolds, Clark, Ellen, Rusty, and Audrey, even though, they kept changing the Rusty and Audrey's. Uh, but that's okay. That's okay because we still retain Chevy Chase playing Clark Griswold and Beverly D'Angelo playing Ellen. Also, a very young Johnny Galecki plays Rusty in this one. So I grew up with National Lampoon movies. My dad introduced me to a lot of them, and I know what you're going to say. A lot of those have vulgar language, they have nudity, they have, whatever in them. That's right. But at the time my dad introduced me to these films, we watched them on TV. My dad, unless he had seen a movie at the drive-in or something, he had no idea that these movies that he was watching on TV, I don't think he had any idea that they cut things out. I mean, he maybe did somewhere in the back of his mind. I'm not saying my dad is stupid. But some people might say, was your dad that stupid that he couldn't figure out that these were edited for television? Okay, again, we were late adopters of VCRs. By the time we got a VCR, they were front loaders. We didn't have a top loading VCR. So the first time we watched National Lampoon's Vacation on our new VCR, Dad said, "Oh, wow, all these scenes weren't in the television version." So by the time National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation came along, though, I believe we rented it. So we got to see it in full at that point in time. But this is basically what it says it is. It's Christmas Vacation. Clark wants to have the perfect Christmas and have everybody at their home, and he just wants it to be perfect. And we know if this is a vacation film, it's not going to be perfect. Things are going to go screwy, and it's going to be hilarious, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Okay, so that indeed happens with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. If you've never seen this one, if you've never seen any of the vacation movies, what are you waiting for? Run, don't walk, and go find all these. Even European Vacation, which a lot of people don't much care for. But that was another one that grew on me. It's not my favorite, mind you, but it still grew on me. So, once again, I'm going to have to give National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 5 Deadites out of 5. Watch this one if you haven't. If it's been a while since you watched it, take that sucker back off the shelf and take a gander at it. Jay, you say there's a shot of Winter's mummified dead daughter that's super creepy. That sounds creepy. Super Batman Nerd says, well, maybe on Halloween, should we overplay John Carpenter's Halloween? And TJ says, I mean, why not? I'm surprised nobody has done that yet. Me too, actually. Yes, we don't want to forget that Juliette Lewis is also in this movie as well. I don't exactly have a Cousin Eddie in my family. Maybe close to Cousin Eddie, but not quite to that level. Didn't you say you had a Cousin Eddie in your family, Blissful? So the last one I want to talk about tonight, and I know this is going to be a little bit over 2 hours. I apologize. Is Home Alone. And I don't care what anybody thinks about this movie. The original Home Alone is fantastic. I think that, what was it, the third or fourth one was just horrible. I didn't even watch it, but I heard horrible things about it. And, if you've seen, any previews for it or anything like that, it just did not look good. I don't even think I watched the second one. For me, Home Alone was kind of stood out on its own. But again, when something makes money, what happens? They keep wanting to churn them out until they can't, until the money dries up and they can't get any more out of it. So little Kevin McAllister, played by Macaulay Culkin, is inadvertently left behind by his family when they go to France for Christmas. Meanwhile, you have Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern playing robbers who sneak into people's houses while they're gone on Christmas vacation and are not home. They're going to different places and stuff. Joe Pesci, there's even a scene early on where he's kind of scoping the neighborhood, dressed as a cop, trying to get a feel for, do these people have timers on their lights? When are they leaving and going on vacation? And all of that. So Kevin runs afoul of these two guys and has to come up with an elaborate scheme to, get rid of these guys, so to speak, or get them caught. Um, so that's your basic story. I should have had my South Bend Shovel Slayer shirt on tonight, and I forgot, because the South Bend Shovel Slayer is who they they claim is this really a lonely old man who walks up and down the sidewalk salting them. Okay, but the kids tell the story. Old man Marley killed his family years ago, and half the people on the block, and all of that. But my South Bend Shovel Slayers shirt is, what if there was a horror element to Home Alone? This would probably be it. So when this movie may work a little bit more for kids than it does for adults, because what kid wouldn't want to kind of thwart some criminals, set booby traps all over, elaborate booby traps all over their house to get these guys. Okay, that was cool when you were a kid. That was badass when you were a kid. So whether you like Macaulay Culkin or hate him, he's just a cute little bundle of energy on this movie. And I think it works. I also like John Hurt and Catherine O'Hara, who play his parents in this. Just a really, really fun holiday film. It was written and produced by John Hughes, but it was directed by Chris Columbus. And once again, I'm going to have to give it 5 Deadites out of 5. And you're probably saying, Dana, you're full of shit. You can't give all of these last few movies you talked about 5 Deadites out of 5. Yes, I can, and I did. And you may agree with me, may disagree with me. That is fine. That is what makes the world go round and makes things not boring, that we all have different thoughts on different things. Leslie, you say, yes, you have a cousin Eddie and an Aunt Bethany. Jay, yes, you're right. Well, Terror Train is actually New Year's Eve, but it's still a good wintertime one. Maniac does have some Christmas elements in it. TJ, you say, I like Home Alone, but I'm not compelled to watch it every year. Oh, I got to watch it every year. Now, I didn't start out watching it every year. But what happened, and I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it real quickly, is that when the Beatles anthology came out, that was, I think, around Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving night, I was old enough where I could stay at home by myself, and I just didn't feel like going to my grand's that year for Thanksgiving. Now, maybe I was feeling bad or something, but they showed Home Alone that night. And so, I just sat down and watched it. And after that, it didn't become a Thanksgiving tradition for me, but it turned into a Christmas tradition for me to watch it every year. But I could see how some people wouldn't want to watch it every year. But so you say, I'd rather go to France. Well, yeah, I'd like to go to France too. But anyway, and Jay, just for the record, I hope I didn't hurt your feelings by not asking you to be on tonight. I should have at least advertised it for you, but I got, as I was telling people earlier, I got into trying to make my rating scale the Deadites rating scale to use for this, and it's going to be a little bit more labor intensive than I thought. And so I was almost late for the stream, and I was like, it's one of those things where you think you got a lot of time, and then you get into something and just lose all track of time. So, um, and I should have told you I was having a stream, no doubt, and let you make up your mind whether you wanted to be on there instead of just assuming you probably wouldn't want to be on here tonight. And for that, I'm sorry. Bad judgment on my part. But I'm glad that you asked me about it. I'm glad you came in the chat. I really appreciate it. And Jay will be on with me. I hope he's not pissed at me and won't be on midday with Dane and Jay, because I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping that Jay will be able to be on the Silent Night, Deadly Night watch along, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. And I think, what was it, A Christmas Story on Sunday. Yeah, Christmas Story on Sunday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. Plus, anybody else that wants to join us, I was hoping that Uncle Bill would join us for this, and maybe CK. And like I said, anybody else that would like to join in. I know Super Batman Nerd let me know that he'd like to be on it. So let me know, Super Batman Nerd, if you still want to be on there, and I can go ahead and put the link in the chat. Because if Uncle Bill's on here, he'll have to have it put in the chat because he doesn't have a Facebook account. And maybe it'll get lost in the chat and no nefarious people will see it. I also want to let you guys and gals know, and I think Jay's going to be on this too, is tomorrow night I will be on the I'll be on the Dead Pit Boy stream for a commentary for Uncle Buck. So I'm looking forward to that. Oh, Jay, please don't say that. You say, I'm kidding. I'm a little tired on talking Christmas because I'm alone and suicidal, but I'll enjoy it anyway. LOL. Well, I hope you're kidding about being suicidal, because I don't want anybody to be suicidal at any point in time, but especially not at Christmas. We're going to get you through this Christmas, Jay. You are not going to be lonely. Like I say, I'm always a, chat message away. So I don't care if it's Christmas Day, you can message me. I'll have my phone with me. It's not like I won't check it. Jay, you say, watched Uncle Buck today. I don't think John Candy made a bad movie. I don't think he did either, Jay. I really don't. Coco, you said, my grandma took me and my brother to see Home Alone in the theater. I was 12 going on 13. I feel like such a dick to this day because I didn't want to sit with her and my brother. Well, Coco, we all go through those different things and things that we regret later in life. I went through, and people are probably going to think this is so awful. I don't do it anymore. But when I was a young, like a, late teens, real early 20s, I would refuse to go to funerals. And then I realized how selfish that was of me. And if you avoid funerals, I'm not saying you're selfish, but me, I'm talking about me. I felt I was selfish because when you go to a funeral, you're going there to be for family members that have had this great loss. And if it's your family, especially, everybody's having a great loss. And so I regret that for those funerals that I did not go. Jay, you say Candy has a funny cameo. Yes, he does. He certainly does in Home Alone. Coco, you say, I was sitting there alone and realized that I was a jerk. Well, at least you realized it early. It took me a few years before I realized I was being a jerk. Before I forget, I wanted to bring this up earlier and I forgot, but thankfully I remembered it. Okay. Now, you guys and gals have probably heard me at one time or another say I'm not really a fan of the Krampus movies. Some people are, some people aren't, and that's okay. However, and I think Blissful may know this because I think I told her what me and Steve were planning on, excuse me, planning on doing um, on Saturday. There is a place called Caulfield's in downtown Louisville that is basically a novelty and costume shop. And I think their biggest time of the year is usually Halloween. Okay. So Christmas, when people have kids, young kids, they usually take them to see Santa Claus. Sometimes you take your pets to pose in pictures with Santa Claus, right? We've done that in the past till we got so many dogs we could, take them all. Okay. So Caulfield's, they've done this. This is their second year doing it. I didn't even realize it last year they did it. But they're not offering pictures with Santa. They're offering pictures with Krampus. I was like, would that not be a hoot? If Steve and I go and get a family Christmas picture, I really would have liked to take the dogs, but I think that would be too chaotic. So me and Steve are going to go and get our Christmas picture taken, not with Santa Claus, but with Krampus. I was like, this is going to be insanely hilarious. And the picture is free. I figure you're going to have somebody use your phone and take a picture of you and whoever else is going to pose in the picture. So you also get 10% off of any item at the shop. So I was like, hey, this sounds like a great deal. So I asked Steve if we could do it, and thankfully he said, yeah, well, okay, we'll go. So be on the lookout for me to hopefully it'll be some kind of digital thing where I get it, if it is my phone that's used, of course the picture will be on there, but I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it. But I will definitely show it before the watch along starts. In case there are those of you that want to see me and Steve in our family Christmas picture with Krampus. TJ says, do you like Deadly Games, the Home Alone like thriller that came out in 1989? Yes, I do enjoy that one. A little sadistic, but yeah, I do enjoy it. And it was something that I didn't hear about. It came out in 1989. I think is it a French film or something like that? That might have been what happened. Listen, you say that sounds like fun. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. Coco, you say, but I hear you about the funerals, Dana. If you feel regret, bad or something, you're a decent human being. Well, thank you, Coco. That, does make me feel a little better. Jay mentions Jack Frost. Jay, that is one that I do not traditionally watch on Christmas because I absolutely hate that freaking movie. But again, if you like it, then I say by all means watch it. Literally say my cousin's son has Santa how he broke into houses every year. TJ says, yep, French. Jay, you say the children don't. That's right, Jay. I forgot. And Steve's got a copy of that. I need to drag that one back out and watch it. Um, I think it takes place around Christmas because I think there are maybe Christmas trees or Christmas lights or tinsel or something in this movie. Well, yeah, technically there are two Jack Frost movies. I hate the horror one. I don't even think I've watched the other one, but I guess the family Jack Frost. I guess I should have asked Jay which one he meant. Yep, you're right, TJ. Dawn the Dead has Christmas decorations up. See, we could expand this. If you're not, some people are hardcore that if it doesn't specifically make no bones about it, say this is a Christmas movie. Some people, will argue with you up and down about whether a particular movie is considered a Christmas movie, but I guess it depends on the person watching it. A lot of people say Die Hard's a Christmas movie. Yes, it does take place at Christmas time. Some other people might say, nah, Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. Jay, you say, meant the crappy horror movie. I kind of like it on a dumb level. No, it's not. It's not a dumb level. It's just people either like stuff or they don't, and it's okay if you like it. I just never, and I've watched it more than once. I even watched it when Joe Bob showed it on his show, and I was still like, no, it's still awful, in my opinion. But guys and gals, it is after 10 o'clock. I've been going on for almost 2 hours and 20 minutes with this stream. So the next time I do one of these review streams, or Steve and I do another Highway to Hell where we go to see a movie, hopefully I will have the Deadite scale fully in place and be able to use it or actually utilize it for you guys. So I want to thank everybody for coming in here tonight. We had a good crew and a good chat in here. We had, for the most part, we had over 10 people in here at all times. Yes, and definitely tune in to see me and Jay for Midday with Dana and Jay at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time for Jay, and for you other guys and gals that are on Central Time. We're going to be talking about Christmas memories and Christmas movies and Christmas music and all that. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says another great live, Dana. And on that note, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night because I'm starting to get tired. And I got to do a couple of things before I settle down for the night. And I think I'm going to finish watching The Dorm That Dripped Blood. And good night, Blissful. Good night, everybody else. And stay tuned for lots of good stuff that I've got in store, or hopefully good stuff. And I will see everybody next time.